What's up, guys? Welcome back to another character review video from ECA. We have everybody here with all of our characters, and I think Josh is going to start us off with his character description.
I did Colonel Armbruster, and pretty much he's an experienced Air Force officer, and he's in the Hulk kind of side of the comics. He's always aiding. He's the right-hand man of General Ross, who's obviously Red Hulk. And he was like one of his biggest missions was to save General Ross from his capture from the Russians. So he did, and he ended up becoming one of his, like I said, right-hand men. And in that time, as you know from the movies and the comics, General Ross is responsible for capturing the Hulk, and so is Armbruster. The problem is they both have two different methods of doing it. So Armbruster really believes that it's like his duty, his main thing, so he'll do anything to do it. Whereas Ross kind of has more like sympathy. So sometimes he ends up becoming Red Hulk. So obviously he has some sort of curiosity to become a Hulk as well. So he is always interested in not so much capturing, more so like learning from the Hulk by capturing him. So they capture the Hulk several times, and of course he escapes. And then they both have different ways of doing it. Their tactics are different. Their philosophy is different. And then it came to an end pretty much when Armbruster was later killed in the line of duty in a Soviet plot. So that's where his story ends. He's only in a couple comics, I think literally like 2 comics, and he ends up saving President Gerald Ford. So that's the short story of Colonel Armbruster.
So wait, when was he introduced?
Let's see. So he's first of all, he's Earth 616, and he don't know if it necessarily. I don't think this one. Oh, his first appearance is Incredible Hulk number 164 in June 1973, and he died in the next issue, pretty much, or like a couple years later. Incredible Hulk 185, and then he died, and then that one came out in March 1975. So 2 years later.
Very small character, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very minor, but that's a quick story of Colonel John Armbruster.
Feature, or maybe 2 features, just very small.
Yeah.
So did him and Ross ever like did he think he was going to get a one up on Ross at all, or anything that you saw?
Obviously, I haven't read the actual comics because they're so far back. I'd have to look it up and probably buy them. But from what I could tell in the descriptions that I read, he has a lot of respect for Ross, so he never tried to disrespect him in any kind of way. It was more so they just had 2 different ways, but at the end of the day, it was General Ross. It was his decision since he was a higher command. So
interesting.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and hop into the next one, which Christian has. Who do you have, Christian?
So I have Annihilus, who is a rival to the Fantastic Four. He's a villain, obviously, in Marvel Comics. He has many titles. He who annihilates, Annihilus the Immortal, the Bug King, the Insect Monarch, or the living death that walks. So he's pretty deadly. So a little bit of backstory. Billions of years ago, a group of beings called the Tyanans, they have life-seeding technology that can go from planet to planet that are barren and give it life, basically. So they can go to an empty moon and then make it flourish to basically an Earth with animals and plants and running water and all that. So one day, one of their ships, the life-seeding ships, crashed in Sector 17A of the Negative Zone on a planet called Arthros. And the crash caused the Tyanans on board to die of starvation. But the seeds on board gave life to that planet Arthros, and it gave birth to a group of beings called the Arthrosians, which is a group of beings of like insect-like humanoids with 2 arms and 2 legs, a nose, a mouth, and eyes. So like humans/insects, and one of them was called Annihilus. So real quick, Annihilus was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And he first appeared in Fantastic Four Annual number 6 in November of 1968. His greatest feats include he's been ruler of the Negative Zone many times. controlling all the inhabitants in the negative zone with the cosmic control rod, which, when he first discovered it, allowed him to grow in strength and intelligence for 10 centuries, which is 1,000 years.
Right.
His powers include superhuman strength, speed, stamina, agility, and reflexes. His chitinous armor exoskeleton grants him extreme durability, and he wields the cosmic control rod, which manipulates objects on a molecular level, produce energy blasts, and slow his aging process. He's the main villain of the Fantastic Four, but he has been involved with many of the big bads in the Marvel Universe, like with Thanos, Galactus, people of cosmic power like Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer. He's definitely. I'm surprised he hasn't been introduced or kind of hinted at in the MCU, but I think they're saving that for when they introduce the Fantastic Four. But he's definitely going to be in the MCU within the next 10 years. I would bet on, because he is a big villain in the Marvel universe. So
Right.
That's what I was going to say.
Like,
I wonder if he would make an Yeah, like I wonder if he would make an appearance in Eternals. Whether it's, I don't know if they've confirmed that he'd be on there, but they'd mention him. Or Fantastic Four coming out hopefully soon. Maybe that could be.
Yeah, I would assume if they're gonna play it safe, they're gonna do Doctor Doom first, maybe, just to give us a good Doctor Doom, because he is. When I think of Fantastic Four, I think of Doctor Doom.
Yeah, of course.
And then save Annihilus for like the second. You know how they did like Vulture for Spider-Man, and then they did Mysterio for the second one.
Yeah.
Maybe like that, or they might just bet the farm and do Annihilus first, and just make them really cool, and and make the Fantastic Four a big of a group as the Avengers in one movie, as opposed to like over 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know, but I know for sure he's going to be in the MCU. Like, I would bet on it.
Cool.
Now, could he potentially, do you see him like maybe being like the next big bad that we'll see in the MCU, or is he more of like, we're just going to keep this with one like group?
I said this before. I hope that the next big threat for the MCU would be like not just one big bad like another Thanos. I want like a group of supervillains,
like Masters of the basically.
Yeah, or like the Injustice League and the DC Comics, stuff like that. Like a group of superheroes that are rivals to many members of the Justice League, or in this case, the Avengers, or just Marvel, and who kind of form this coalition for the greater bad, I guess, for the greater evil, to take down superheroes. Because Annihilus was one of the main protagonists in the Annihilation event in the Marvel Universe. It was a crossover storyline in 2006 that involved Drax the Destroyer, Thanos, Ronan the Accuser on invading or attacking Earth. And Fantastic Four, especially Reed Richards, had to come up with a way to close like the portal to the negative zone, which is like a different kind of, it's like the Phantom Zone in the DC universe to Earth.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so like he definitely is. He's been in big storylines, and I want him to be kind of like, if there is a big bad, he would be like one of the lieutenants, kind of like an Ebony Maw type of character, but more important, obviously. But I hope he's like obviously a rival to Fantastic Four, but a rival to everyone. Like Spider-Man is scared of him. The people of Wakanda know who Annihilus is. Like he's a big bad type of thing, but not the biggest bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Yeah, I've definitely heard of Annihilus, but I don't know much about him. But now with your, research, it kind of helps a little bit, getting to know some of the backstory and who he is.
It's pretty cool.
What he can do. Yeah, for sure.
Now, Dhiren, who do you have?
All right, so I'm gonna go next. I have Anti-Venom, so aka Eddie Brock. So basically, he's a pretty new character. I have my little sheet right here, so I'm gonna read off of this. So he was actually introduced in 2008 in this story called Die, which as his first appearance. Basically, Eddie Brock gets a job at this kitchen, the soup kitchen, and it's under Martin Lee. For those of you guys who don't know who Martin Lee is, he's Mr. Negative. So Brock had cancer. That's why like he bonded with the Venom suit or the Venom symbiote. But for some reason, his cancer was like randomly cured. It said it was like unknowingly or whatever. So that happened, and it was by Lee, Mr. Negative, and he had like what is his powers? It's called like light something ability, light force abilities. That's Mr. Negative's like thing. And Brock was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a miracle. This is crazy. Like, how the heck did my cancer get cured? Because cancer is a really big thing." And Brock was later attacked by Scorpion, who's Matt Gargan, and he was the current Venom in this like, I guess, comic universe. Because it was a newer story in '08. Different people have different symbiotes, and so Scorpion had the Venomized or the Venom symbiote, and he attacked Brock. Something happened, and that symbiote latched onto Brock once more. But it wasn't like the classic Venom that we all know, the classic Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
It was like a new adapted symbiote, I guess you could say. And it was something to do with molecular bonding with his body. And he kind of developed these like white blood cells, and it kind of merged with the symbiote, which made it white. That's why he's known as Anti-Venom. And that also came from Lee's light force capabilities and stuff, Mr. Negative. So it turned that suit white. But this Venom is like this symbiote now that's on Brock in 2008 is like greatly upgraded from his standard, black colored Venom symbiote suit that he used to have. This has like, he still has web slinging and all that. And he can transform his arms and body into various weapons, but he has an elongated jaw. He's slightly taller. He has like a really long claws, I guess you could say. His fingers are a lot longer. And he has this camouflage capability, which is pretty sweet. So he's upgraded in many different ways. And I thought he was honestly cooler than Venom. And I love Venom. Venom is like my favorite symbiote. But Anti-Venom has a lot of capabilities and powers that I didn't even know. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I didn't know he was that new. I thought he was like probably from the 90s, but no, he's from 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, well, Mr. Negative is a fairly new character because he was obviously
Right.
introduced in the Spider-Man video game that just came out about 2
Yeah.
years ago. Great game, but it's way past. If you haven't played it at this point,
Right.
Yeah, what are you guys doing? No, yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's pretty interesting characters. There's a lot more that goes into it, like Flash Thompson and some other like people that have actually carried the symbiote. So it's pretty neat. But there's a lot of backstory for this new character, which I found pretty interesting.
Now, could we see Anti-Venom in the MCU at any point? Do you see if there's a way to put him in there, they would do it, or is it kind of, too constrained?
If anybody, Sony would do it, and it wouldn't be anytime soon because it's just putting Carnage.
Yeah.
that's
You
what
need some time, and plus Eddie Brock still formed his classic Venom suit.
Yeah.
So if anything, it'll probably be like 5, 6, maybe 10 years from now. I don't even think he would be in the movie anytime soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I was gonna go off of JT's question because like I would love to see different versions of the same character, but like
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, think about it. There's been so many iterations of Batman, but none of them have alluded to like Flashpoint Batman, Thomas Wayne being Batman. That's like a different version of Batman.
Right.
And it's not like DC is afraid of the R rating or anything, or afraid of the violence. I mean, the fight scenes and the Batman fight scenes in like the Justice League movie and the Batman vs Superman movie, pretty violent. But like, they're still sticking with the core Bruce Wayne as Batman type of thing. And there's been so many iterations. So I was like, man, I would love to see a different version of the same character, but
Right.
I mean, Batman's my favorite hero. We've seen him change so many times, and it's still just Bruce Wayne,
Mhm.
So, but maybe hopefully in like a different universe type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be pretty
I'm
cool.
about to see a new iteration of him too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really cool.
All right, who we
But
have
yeah.
next?
We got JT up next.
Yes. So the character that I chose was Ajak. Now, Ajak in the comics is male. However, we will actually see Ajak. Yes,
This is an Ajax, right?
it's AJAK.
Got it.
Yes.
So,
But what?
I was saying, yeah, not Ajax from Deadpool,
Yes.
basically.
Yes, Ajak. Now in the comics, it is he is a male. However, we will see Ajak in the upcoming Eternals movie, portrayed by Selma Hayek. So in the movie, it'll be a female. And Ajak's first appearance was in the Eternals Volume 1, issue number 2, which was released in August of 1976 by Jack Kirby. Ajak is a part of the God Squad, which there's a whole list of people, and it would be 10 minutes if I listed all of them. But and Ajak is actually both a superhero and a supervillain. Mm-hmm. Ajak is an adventurer from the city of space gods, which is in the Andes Mountains. And Ajak stands at 6'1" and weighs about 220. I don't know how Selma Hayek is going to portray a 6 foot 220 superhero / supervillain, but we shall see. Now, Ajak's powers is superhuman strength, virtual immortality, invulnerability. She can levitate at some points. He can rearrange the molecular structure of objects, and he can project cosmic energy. So I didn't really try to dig much into it because I know that we'll get more information when the Eternals comes out here in next year, I believe, in 2021.
Yeah, March.
So hopefully Selma Hayek does a really good job at playing Ajak. And it really didn't hit me when I picked the character because in the encyclopedia that I have, Ajak, the kind of photo that it shows was a male figure, and I was like, oh, okay, the Eternals. He's part of the Eternals. And then I was like, now wait a minute, we're getting an Eternals movie. Let me look and see if Ajak will be in the movie, and we will see her. So that's really about it. Again, I'm interested to see if the movie kind of portrays all these powers that Ajak has, especially the immortality and the levitation and the we've seen superhuman strength. We know what that looks like, but how he or she projects the cosmic energy is going to be interesting, and the kind of the molecular structure of the objects will also be interesting. So will they diet down a little bit and kind of
make it not as overpowered?
Yeah, the MCU Marvel tends to do that a lot with their characters. Not as powerful as they seem in the comics, but that's what makes it different from the comics. So that's really all I have about Ajak, honestly.
Interesting. Who did he like fight alongside with? Or she, well, I guess he in the comics, she in the movie.
In the comics, he was kind of one of those, like, I don't want to.
That's the Eternals.
Yeah, I don't want to put him as an anti-hero, because there was times where he did fight along with the Eternals, but he fought against them in other times.
Right.
So, so really, it just depends on what he was doing, in that issue. So, what?
Yeah, I was quoting Emperor Palpatine because I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but he's like, I forgot what the quote is, but it's the opera scene in Episode 3, and Anakin is like, Jedi are good, and Emperor's like, in their own perspective or something like that. I can't even remember.
Right.
But I was quoting him.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hope the power wise, I hope they do show they're not afraid to show them like they are just these cosmic like beings that can do so much more than think about it, like we got so hyped when we saw Captain America lift Mjolnir, right? Like that was so hyped. But on the grand scale of things, that is a small thing that happened on one planet in this entire universe. Like, and the Eternals, they are on a universe level power.
Right.
Like, I hope we get high. I hope they don't become boring in their strength, because Captain America is nowhere near as strong as Captain Marvel, but he will always hype me up more than Captain Marvel so far in the MCU. Like, there hasn't been a moment where Captain Marvel has like, oh my god, that was amazing.
I see smoke coming out of JT's ears.
No, this is just from, like, you know, because Captain Marvel, she only had one movie, okay, and Captain America's had many movies, so this is kind of biased, but like
Just playing.
Iron Man, he's a guy who made suits, but he has hyped us more than like these people with actual, but like he's hyped us more than Scarlet Witch has, even though she has hyped us a lot. Like towards the end of the Marvel Phase 4 of the, you know, Avengers movies, but like. I hope that when they show them off, like they're cool, they're like amazing. You know, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and what's one thing that I really don't want them to do is to automatically out of the gate be like, these are the strongest, you know, people on this planet, on this, you know, in this kind of universe that we have. No one can stop them. I want to see conflict. Like I want to see a, you know, something
bad.
Yeah, like I don't want them to be like, oh, and everything's fixed.
Yeah,
like
I don't want them to tell
them
us.
to have some kind of yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why. I mean, let us figure it out. That's why we have a tier system, right?
Right, exactly. So, and we will be adding to that tier list when this movie comes out. So,
yeah,
good stuff. Yes, sir. We will.
So now, Dom, who do you have for your character or characters?
All right, so my characters, I had the team Alpha Flight, and with Alpha Flight, they first appeared in X-Men issue 120 in April of 1979, created by John Byrne and Chris Claremont. And some of their members, they include, the current members now are, of course, Guardian, who is the leader of the team, Vindicator, who is his wife, Aurora, Marina, North Star, Puck, Shaman, Snowbird, Talisman, and Walter Lankowski. So those are the current members as of today. And some of their former members included Witchfire, Manbot, Nemesis, Sunfire, and then of course everybody knows this, Wolverine. And Alpha Flight, they are basically Canada's premier superhero team. So like with, you know, America's, you know, I guess I would say the most popular team right now would probably be the Avengers. They're basically the Canadian Avengers at this point. And they are funded by Department H, which is kind of like a secret type of government agency in Canada. So they've been funded by them ever since they first started. And when I'll get into their origin story a little bit. So when they first started, Hudson, or Guardian, he went out and recruited Wolverine. So he was basically the first person to join the team. And he recruited some more members later. And, you know, after a few missions, Wolverine became, you know, the leader of the team instead of Guardian. And so with that, for a few years, you know, Wolverine has led the team. And then next thing you know, Wolverine decides to leave the team and, of course, joins the X-Men at that point. And with that causes conflict with Alpha Flight and X-Men. So that's when they started butting heads. But after that, they realized they had a common enemy with that. And that common enemy was, see, I haven't written down. His name was Wendigo. So after that, Wolverine, you know, still decided to stay with the X-Men, and Alpha Flight said, you know, that's cool. You can do whatever you want to do at that point. And so Wolverine would still come back from time to time to help out Alpha Flight. And so after that, you know, that confrontation with the X-Men and Wendigo, they, you know, lost government funding, but they got it back. But they decided to be freelance adventurers. So throughout the years, they've been, had their ups and downs with character deaths, members leaving, members joining. And they're still pretty active today. So that's kind of like my type of, well, I won't say my type, but that's, my character research for Alpha Flight. I could go days and days because they've been around for a long time. And then with them being the team, they have a lot more history too. So that's my character review on Alpha Flight.
When were they introduced? You might have mentioned this, but I kind of forgot.
X-Men issue 120, 1979 in April.
It's been a minute since they've been around.
Have they ever teamed up with like the Avengers or like Inhumans or any other team? Like, are they strictly in Canada?
They're strictly in Canada, but they have helped out with the X-Men several times because some of the team members on Alpha Flight are actually mutants.
Right.
So it's not just, superhumans. They have mutants as well too. So they would team up with the X-Men at certain points, especially with their connection to Wolverine as well.
Sure.
I don't know if you know the answer from the research you gave or looked up, but you kind of mentioned that they were like freelancing, like a freelancing team that kind of did what they wanted to. But you also said they were mutants, or some of them that were. Now, if the the Civil War that we saw in the MCU, obviously it's branched out in the larger scale things. Would they be more of Team Cap, or would they be neutral, or Team Iron Man?
They will most likely be neutral because they operate in Canada,
right?
So some of the mutants or heroes were were in America at that point, and when everything started popping off in Civil War, they could just basically go to Canada and say like, hey, I don't have to do this, my residency is in, or my citizenship is in Canada, so I really, don't have to participate in this. And that's kind of like what Ben Grimm did, the Thing, even though, he's an American, but he just, kind of left on his own saying like, hey, I'm going to go to France because, I don't want to participate in this.
The only reason
they really had a choice if they wanted to help, but they just decided not to.
Yeah, because the reason I was asking was because, for those who don't know about the Civil War comic or the Civil War book that they have, mutants, more of Charles Xavier and Storm and Wolverine, they were all neutral. They said, we're going to do what we want to do. Y'all can fight it out, but we're going to be, we're going to be.
Yeah. So because I know Storm, she joined like right at the end where everything was like dying down when like the big finale was coming up. And so because now that you mentioned that it was Tony Stark visited the X-Mansion and he talked with Emma Frost, and I remember that scene so vividly. And she kind of like got inside Tony's head, or she let Tony inside her head, and then she showed the images of like Genosha saying like where were the Avengers when Genosha was destroyed and hundreds of children died when this attack happened. So she basically told him like, y'all can fuck off if y'all wanted us that bad. So so yeah, mutants really then just stay neutral throughout that point.
I got you. Well, that's I was just curious because I know a lot of mutants, again, neutral. So but I think that will do it. Is that it?
Yeah, that for this time. So yeah, be sure to check out our other video if you haven't seen it yet. It's also on YouTube. That wasn't for character review, but that was for our previous podcast episode. But this will be on YouTube shortly, and then I think we'll be doing these weekly. So if you guys have any characters that you want us to review, we usually pick out characters from an encyclopedia, Marvel encyclopedia. If you have a specific character from the comics that we haven't done a review on, just send it to us on Twitter or Instagram, whatever, and we can check that out. And we'll do that like collectively on top of our own characters, if you guys are down for that.
Yes, sir.
They do.
All right, well, do it.
All right, guys.
Sure.